Do you want to start with Star Citizen or coming back after a while? Then you're in the right place. Because in this extensive guide, we go into all aspects of the multiplayer MMO Star Citizen. And here is everything from the right account creation to the selection of the perfect game package for your type of player to the first settings and your first hours in the verse, with different career options. Really, everything is included. In addition, this guide is completely modular and you can jump directly to the places in the video which are of interest to you or which you want to see again. But first the answer to the question, what is Star Citizen 2425 and is it worth getting involved? Star Citizen is a space survival MMO and is still currently in development for almost 10 years. But we are approaching a completion step by step, which is to be expected for 25 or 26. And even if we are talking about an alpha here, there are few games that can keep up with Star Citizen in terms of size, scope and depth of play. But if you are looking for a finished, mission-based AAA game that fascinates you with a deep story, then you should wait for Squadron 42, the single-player expansion. Because the persistent universe about Star Citizen, which is currently playable in the alpha, offers only a few sound-embedded missions or a storyline you can follow. Moreover, it is a massive, huge sandbox with different career options, opportunities to earn money or to get in touch with other players, whether positive or negative. So we already have the opportunity, for example as a freighter pilot, as a space mining pilot or as a fighter who shines for ground missions or in space combat, to take on various career options. But here, the learning curve and the possible frustration level are comparatively high. Therefore, we try to prepare you step by step in the beginner's guide and of course also in the extensive other special guides here on the channel, what to expect and how you have an optimal gaming experience. Because a single-player mode is not available in Star Citizen in the persistent universe. Because as soon as you join a server, you are in a one universe with all other players of this server. And here you can meet pirates, outlaws or helpful other players. So, peaceful miners or freighter pilots play side by side with PvP-affiliated players or players who want to complete just a PvE mission. But another topic. Since there are over the years the same headlines over and over in the different media, here are a few facts. Do you really need an expensive game package to be able to play Star Citizen? Or what are the advantages if you treat yourself to a huge game package for $15,000? No, you only need a beginner's package, which is usually cheaper than any other AAA title. Larger game packages, which are indeed available for $15,000, however, do not offer you any advantages. Because with such a huge package, you have a huge fleet with huge ships, but you can hardly operate them or fly alone. And in addition, you can buy almost all ships with in-game currency yourself. The fun on the game is the same, regardless of whether you get a huge package or whether you get the cheapest beginner package, which we recommend. Because there are no restrictions or limitations on the different game packages. All players are at home at the same universe, can do the same missions and activities. And at this point, the note, as soon as you are traveling with other players, the whole thing is not only much more fun, but you are also often blessed with some more success. And so we start in the first of a total of 14 chapters, although these are only the absolute basics here, because Star Citizen is very deep, especially in terms of the different options on the ground, in space combat or in general. And if you still need help, or just do not want to be alone, feel free to visit us in the Discord. Here you will find an active and friendly community, which especially likes to offer help to beginners. Because another benefit from Star Citizen is its helpful community, at least the largest part. The first chapter deals with the correct account creation, because here you only have the opportunity once to take a bonus with you, so when creating your account, because this bonus will remain permanently in your account and can only be retrieved during the first creation. For this, use a so-called referral code in any case. You can find it either in the link in the video description, directly by clicking or shown in the video here. And if you have already a friend who is playing Star Citizen, ask him for his code. All codes offer the same bonus. Because depending on which time you log into robotspaceindustries.com with your account creation and get the referral code, you get at least about $5 for in-game currency or different ships or packages. There are also regular free fly events where you can experience the complete game for free without a purchase game package. But here too, a referral bonus is definitely useful with the account creation. Is Star Citizen running on your computer and how can you ensure the security of your account? This brings us to Chapter 2. You can already check in advance on robotspaceindustries.com and under the area support and telemetry whether your computer configuration is suitable for Star Citizen and how well the game will run for you. Here you will find a summary of the various resolutions and various computer configurations, with different processors and graphics cards and memory data. You can simply select these and look for a configuration that suits you best. And this way you can quickly see whether Star Citizen is running for you at all or how well. And of course, the FPS guide offers the possibility to generate a lot more FPS for you, so check it out. But let's get to another important feature. After creating an account, you can activate the two-factor authentication in the settings under your settings. And this we recommend in any case. Because in particular, over the time you have sometimes collected significant values in the account or special rare items. Here they are safe. And one of the most controversial and often discussed topics in the media is the selection of the game package. And for the selection of a package, there are a variety of suggested variants. But we recommend in any case the cheapest starting package in principle, because you can upgrade it at any time without any problems and you have no differences in the game version. And there are also some controversial options in the topic of insurance and so on. But basically, a game package offers you access to the game, and as soon as you are deeper in the game, you have the possibility to adapt it by your liking. Therefore, we take a look at the different game packages, which you can also find directly in the store. Here we have selected some different packages, as there are several hundred different ships and vehicles with different purposes. Another point is that very extensive game packages, sometimes for several $1,000s, offer several ships and various variants. But keep in mind, you can only fly one ship at a time. Therefore, the question arises whether you want to fly a destroyer with 80-man crew alone or whether you might prefer to try one of the other entry ships. And here we definitely can recommend the Aurora. This is one of the cheapest starting packages and offers everything you need for the start. You don't need more for the game start. In the same price range and also recommended, the Mustang Alpha starter package. Here you have the same price but a slightly more aggressive look. The only difference is that you don't have an interior and no bed in which you can log out. For about $60, you have also an interesting entry-level combination with the Pisces. Here you can bring a friend with you. Even more interesting and also in the same price range is the Drake Cutter, but it is a little weaker in terms of armament, so rather for more peaceful players. For a little more, you get the 100i, which is an extremely good range and already conveys a bit of luxury in the beginner segment. And one of the most powerful beginner ships and also usable for almost all areas is the Avenger Titan, but a bit more expensive with $75. And if you are only looking for PvP action, then get this little light fighter, because the Arrow is the perfect entry for PvP players. And if you really want to spend money, get the Drake Cutlass Black or a Freelancer for example. These ships offers a little more of everything, but are bigger. But a reminder, we recommend the cheapest entry-level ships like the Aurora or Mustang. But let's come to the next chapter, the download and the launcher. For Star Citizen you need the launcher, which you can download for free on robotspaceindustries.com, and here about 100 GB of data are awaiting for you. The launcher currently only offers Star Citizen, and in the future also the single-player expansion Squadron 42. With the game version you can choose, for example, current test versions which are also installed. And with the game settings of the selected version, you can launch the game in saved locations as well as a verify, whereby the game files are checked for errors. At the application settings, you can clear your cache from time to time if you have errors with the launcher. And with accessibility, we recommended 3 functions. Here you can disable all options to make your launcher more responsive. And finally, in the download area, you can set the maximum download speed and the number of downloads. But let's go to the first start of the game. Because as soon as you have downloaded the game, you can start Star Citizen. But let's first go to the most important basic settings in the options menu, because Star Citizen offers, as you will notice, an incredible number of settings and configuration options. So we do this step by step. Among the options and game settings, we definitely recommend beginners to activate Show Hints and Control Hints. Rather confusing and therefore rather for deactivate are the Look Ahead functions, so switch them to No, and optionally you can also set them to 0 with the slider. Also confusing and best to deactivate are the G-Force and Global Camera Shake settings, so your character stays where you want it and doesn't look around widely in the area. Gamma, brightness and contrast are a matter of taste, but in window mode we recommend borderless or full screen. In the graphics render area, you have to try which variant works more stable for you, whether Vulkan or Direct 3D. Over short or long, Vulkan would run much better and more performant, but that can take a while. In the upscaling area, we recommend FSR or DLSS, or you set it to off. In any case, don't use CIGTSR. In the quality settings area, you have relatively low FPS boosts, so you can leave it at high or very high. Where you notice significant quality differences, however, as well as in performance, is the planet volumetric clouds point. You shouldn't set this to the maximum, so the photo mode, and leave it at high or medium. Weaker systems should deactivate the setting completely. By the way, you experience the best performance gains with a very fast M2 NVMe, so an SSD is a must. And for a deep dive of the Star Citizen settings, check out the dedicated guide here in the channel. And also we can recommend you the one-click combat mode, which also offers you a lot of settings and options, and especially for space combat a big plus. Finally, we deactivate another FPS relevant setting in the audio area, namely the audio-driven camera shake. And before we now start the game, let's check our settings and their configuration via the Arena Commander function. Here, you are not in the persistent universe, but in a test environment, which can also be used for ground combat or, as in free fly, for space combat or space flying. Because here you can easily check your settings, test graphics settings, or even set your control settings with joystick and HOTAS. In Arena Commander mode, you have all the time you need. And then we can finally start and join the persistent universe for the first time. Currently, Star Citizen offers you the option to select of 4 different residence zones. But at your very first start, you need to create a character. But at the beginning the note, you can change your character again and again, at each start of the game and at each new join. So if you don't want to play a woman anymore, you can simply make a man without any loss or any costs at the next start of the game, or anything you want. It's completely up to you. Because here you have countless sliders and options, and also the possibility to save or import different characters. And of course, for this we also have prepared an extensive character editor guide for you. And as soon as you either created your desired character yourself or generated it via the automatic functions, we click on Accept and Start for the first time. Here you are offered an in-game tutorial, which we definitely recommend skipping. Don't do it. Because currently there are possibilities that you get stuck here and it just doesn't go on. The selection of your starting zone is a matter of taste, although we have nicer corners like Horizon or New Babbage, more industrial shaped areas like Area 18, or darker landing zones like Lowville. You can't go wrong here. For this guide, however, we start in the Cloud City of Horizon in the Crusader area. Welcome to Star Citizen. You wake up in your bed and you can look around with your mouse. The controls are oriented here to the most shooters or action games. That means you can move with the movement keys, jump with the spacebar, lay down with the control key and duck with C. But the F key is important for Star Citizen. Because here you can interact with objects shown. That means whenever an F lights up, you can perform the respective action with a press. And this interaction changes, of course, depending on what is in front of you. For example, we can open a closet or start a spaceship. Genre typical, we find the minimap in the upper left corner, and in the right area we have activated the various tools and hints, which always offers us tooltips. The interaction mode is important, which you can open with holding the F key and, for example, the mouse wheel. Here you not only have a better overview and built-in binoculars, but also the possibility to interact with the game world later. To open your inventory you can press either I, but you first need something here where you can put something in. Or you can go to one of the different player consoles. Here you have access to your local inventory, in this case Horizon, that is in our residence area. Otherwise you can store everything you find in a game world, or you see all your game rewards. So special items or event items shown here. By the various row and filter options you also have the option of sorting the whole thing a little easier. Basically, you can either double-click or drag and drop objects to your character. And a note, we are in a space simulation, so in most cases you need an undersuit and a suitable helmet. Because otherwise you will find your death in the vacuum of space or your first spacewalk. But don't worry, of course we'll get a suitable starting equipment with everything we need for this. One of the most important tools, or key combination, is left Alt and F. This is where your radial menu appears and you have context-based different options. That means, if you are on the road as a player, especially interaction options with your environment shown up, and access to emotes or your inventory and commands. With the key F4 you can switch to an outside view and with a further press to an extended view. If you press F4 again, you will return to your EU perspective. In any case, make yourself familiar with the left Alt and F key, so your radial menu. Here you will find, for example, all key combinations. But let's get to the basic controls. As mentioned, you can move with the movement keys and your mouse, regardless of whether you are in a third-person or first-person view. In addition, you have the option of steplessly regulating your speed with the mouse wheel, and this while running or in a ducked position. Also classic, you can jump with the spacebar or put yourself on the ground with the control key. And also on the ground you have the option of turning yourself accordingly. And that will also work later with weapons or in the weightlessness of space. So the controls on the ground are therefore genre typical and offers the most of the basic functions that we are also known from other shooters or action games. But let's go to the next area, namely how you can basically orient yourself. Here we plan routes to get from A to B, and of course we get the first basic equipment to survive in the world at all. One of the most important menu functions is your MobiGlass. This gives you access to the most diverse apps, which you always carry on your arm, so to speak. With the F1 key you have access to your own character state, environmental informations, as well as the most diverse apps, which we will come into detail later. One of the most important apps is the Maps app, which you can also find in your list. Here you have access not only on the ground to the minimap and to a route planning, but when you zoom out with the mouse wheel, directly to all planets and systems that you can find in Star Citizen. Here we not only plan routes on the ground, but also various jump points to get from A to B and to fly from a planet to one another. Because unlike in most other space games, in Star Citizen you have no loading screens, nor any hidden ones. Via the Maps app, we can switch to the different zones and find ourselves. Here we can show ourselves where the next elevator leads or where we have to go next. For example, to complete the mission or, in our case, to get out of the building. By pressing the mouse button, we can also adjust and move the map freely. And with the key R, we can plan a route to a random point we selected. And this route is shown to us in the minimap at the top left, and we keep the orientation. Star Citizen is big, very big. And to get from one building to the next, or from a huge skyscraper to the bottom, there are no stairs. We drive elevators here. And that means this is not a loading screen, but we really drive elevators and can also observe other players here. For this, we use the interaction mode again, hold the F key, and then we can interact with the mouse and, for example, select a floor plan. Now, we are looking for a shopping option, which is available in every landing zone with different options. Here we basically find different shops as well as a medical facility, usually a clinic. In our case, the Horizon General, where we, in addition to the possibility of taking a medical treatment, also find a pharmacy where we can buy some medical items. Directly in the lobby, we find a terminal, which we can use to shop in the pharmacy. We recommend you to buy a Pyramid medical device. This is, so to speak, a pistol for medical purposes, because with this we can not only heal ourselves and others, but also use different drugs. But also the medical gameplay is a huge gameplay area, so we stay at the basics. And in order to find this pistol, we have to go to one of the available kiosks, so the screens where you have access to your inventory. And under utility we can then equip our Pyramid. And depending on the landing zone, we then take a look for a weapon and armory shop or one of the small supermarkets. Kelto offers you the possibility to buy complete basic equipment from simple armor to various weapons. Here we recommend you, basically under the armor category, to buy a chest armor, because this offers you a portable inventory, for example for food or drinks, because also Star Citizen has a survival aspect. That means at some point you have to drink and eat, or you have corresponding problems until you're dead. And of course, we can also cover ourselves here with various weapons. But first, you don't need additional weapons. We stay with the pistol, which is provided you automatically, and which we will see later in the first missions. And don't worry, if you really want to blast the moment, you always have the option to respawn. Only you burn equipment, and if necessary your ship is currently no longer available. That means you either have to collect your equipment again or you have to buy it again. And we get our ship back after a short wait without any problems. For our first trip, we also take some drinks and some food with us. But you will survive several hours in Star Citizen without food and drink, and this is not a compulsory measure. Order food and drink accordingly. But in order to leave a planet in Star Citizen, we can't magically transport ourselves into a ship or teleport to another planet, but first we have to find our way to the Spaceport. And here we have various public transports. In Horizon, for example, shuttles, and in most other landing zones, mostly trains. We use the map function with F2 here, or look for signs that lead us to the Spaceport. But we stop for a moment in the next shop, which you can also find in the different planets, so a weapons shop or an equipment shop. Because here we find the Greycat multi-tool, the smallest variant of a multi-tool which offers you the possibility of a tractor beam. And in addition, we take a cheap backpack with us, because this offers us a lot of storage space. Your multi-tool is an absolute must-have item, and with the tractor beam attachment, you have the option of moving and storing objects that you cannot carry by hand. Alternatively, there are also larger tractor beams, up to a mech-like Loadmaster, but these are not necessary for the beginning. Of course, complete armors and a backpack are also optional. But in any case, the multi-tool with the tractor beam and the medical equipment are recommended in any case. But let's get to your own personalized hangar. Here you can find your ships and start from the planet. Because every player has their own hangar since 3.24, which you can also decorate or adjust extensively in the later game. So to speak, a first form of housing. In addition, you start and land via your hangar, and you can find it, like all players, at the airport. And after a short run and a few elevator rides, we have arrived at the airport. Here we have access to various terminals where we can deliver our ships, which are currently in a non-claimed state, directly to Horizon, so your spaceport. Here you get them delivered, and you can drive them directly to your hangar via the next elevator. And as an alternative, and a bit more time-saving, we could get the ship delivered directly to the hangar via these console, even before we get to the elevator. But first, of course, let's take a look at our own hangar. Your hangar varies in size depending on how big your largest ship is in your hangar. So for a new player, the largest ship in your game package. If you brought a large ship here, your hangar is a bit larger, so that it can also spawn. But the equipment of a hangar is always the same. Only the size differs. Here you will find a cargo elevator, as well as some terminals for access to your own inventory, and again a console to call ships or to store them accordingly. And if your ship has been destroyed, you would find destroyed here and could reclaim it again, whereby you simply recover your ship without any costs after about 3 minutes of waiting for a starter ship. Your ship is loaded directly into the hangar by an elevator, and we can get on it directly. Because here too, we do not teleport to our ship, but have to find the correct access, which is shown to you with a hatch. Also with the interaction key F, you can then call doors, ramps or elevators of your respective ship and get inside. And thanks to our starter ship, we do not have to search for our cockpit and ultimately the pilot seat inside the ship first. Our Aurora offers a pilot seat, a bed and a small interior area. And of course, the standard equipment. But let's go to one of the more technical interesting aspects, namely your first takeoff, your first flight and also your first landing. But step by step. Do you remember the left Alt and F key, so the radial menu? Here you now have significantly more options, so ship systems, flight systems, weapons and so on. Here we find also the flight button, Flight Ready. Here you can start your complete ship. As an alternative, you can also use the holding F key and the mouse to find the right switch in your ship. Here you will find the most diverse buttons and switches, for example, to open doors, to exit your landing gear or to take your ship flight ready. But how do you do that is ultimately irrelevant. You can also do it with a key combination of right Alt and R. In addition, the control works with the holding F key and the mouse wheel here, so you can zoom in and out in the cockpit, so to see screens or operate them. It is completely up to you how you control your ship, whether via hotkeys, which is also possible, via your internal radial menu or via the holding F key and your mouse. With this, we always reach the same goal, as well as a request for takeoff, because in order for the hangar doors to open, we first have to receive a start clearance. This works, for example, also via our MobiGlass in the communications menu. And as soon as we have the start clearance, the hangar doors open. And of course, Star Citizen also offers an outside view for your ship, also with the F4 key. Here we can also switch from the cockpit to the outside view. But let's get to the spaceship controls. This is analogous to your ground control, but for spaceships. With the mouse you can look around, so align the nose, and with the spacebar you push up. With the control key you push down, and with the movement keys you can push forward, backward or right and left. And with Q and E you can roll your ship. And in addition there is the X key, which acts like a brake. And with the support of the Shift key you can activate your boost in the respective flight direction. But don't worry, we'll go into the flight controls and the various options in detail again. Because for your first takeoff, it is completely sufficient if you slightly push up with the spacebar and then move out of your hangar, depending on the direction of view. But you have still activated your landing gear. And here the speed is automatically reduced to a minimum. That's why we take a look at how you can enter your landing gear. Hold the F key again, look around and take a look at the different instruments, such as the speed display or individual buttons that show you which functions are active. And SCM guns means that we are still in the space combat mode. And we take also a look at the second flight mode, the nav mode, in a moment. In the right top area, we find the display of our weapons, our fuel supplies for quantum and hydrogen fuel, and a height display, which means how high we are. Because our altitude matters. And don't worry, if you don't do any control entries, you won't fly from the sky because your ship stabilizes automatically, and only when you fly you can change your position. First, we tap the N button and the landing gear drives in. You can also see that the button changes from a blue one to a white one, which means that the mode is deactivated. If we tap the N button again, our landing gear is removed again. But now we switch to another mode, from the space combat mode, where our weapons and shields are active, but our speed is reduced, to the nav mode, which allows us to fly and jump without weapons and shields. And to switch these modes, these master modes, we hold down the B button, but suddenly new symbols pop up. We are in the nav mode in quantum jump, which means we could jump, but we have a lot of red symbols, which means we can't jump yet due to the gravity. We have to leave the atmosphere first. So to do this, we move the mouse wheel and push up, because with the mouse wheel we can adjust our maximum speed with a slider. Which means that we don't always fly at full throttle, but for example adjust our speed in a lower range. Now we push forward with the movement keys and in an angle that is shown to us in the middle with degrees. We can activate our boost with the shift key. This means we increase our speed as long as we have boost available, and this automatically recharged. And after we have flown a bit, the red symbols are being turned into blue ones and have different looks. These offer us all jumpable areas. An X is for example a jump buoy, a rectangle station, circles, planets or moons, and triangles are ground stations. So let's align ourselves, our quantum drive is spooled and with a click on the left mouse button we jump to this target. In addition, each master mode, so the navigation or space combat mode, offers the option of switching between modes with a click of the middle mouse button. That means, for example, a flight mode, a scanner mode or the quantum jump mode, inside the master mode nav. And the same applies to the space combat mode. Here we can switch to rockets, for example. But more on that in a moment. Once again, a hint about the flight controls. The small corners in the front area shows us in which direction we are flying, so push forward or push back. And via the indicator we always see in which direction our ship is moving. This is especially useful when we fly sideways or with a rotation. And this way we can always estimate in which direction our ship is drifting. But of course also movement up, down or to the sides is possible, as well as a roll. And again behind, your ship stabilizes automatically, so if you don't give any active thrust in any direction, our ship is stabilized itself after a short time and simply stands still, and regardless of the weightlessness of space or with the gravity in an atmosphere. And of course there is the possibility to fly decoupled, so to deactivate this function, but we do not recommend this to beginners. For this, you need a little feeling in spaceship handling, and no matter how you fly, if you hold the X key, you will slow down with the space brake. But now we want to land in the space station we arrived at. Here we can request a landing with Alt and N or via your radial menu, via your MobiGlass or via the ship systems. And as soon as you have received a landing clearance, you will be shown a small symbol where your hangar is located. And of course, we have to activate our landing gear again with the N key for landing, whereby our speed is reduced and the landing becomes much easier. So try to land straight down at first, especially with the directions of the degrees on the right and left. Here we aim for a 0, and the first landing is always something special. Congratulations, landing complete. Welcome to the space station. Before we leave our ship, we can either manually drive down the energy systems or we press the U key. Of course, the same applies to a radial menu. so we have already several options again, as well as getting out of your seat either via the radio menu or holding the Y key. And another important note, even if this space station has an atmosphere here, not every planet or moon has one, so put on a helmet before leaving a ship, otherwise it can be a very short trip. On the console on which we have called our ship, we can now store it again, so via the store function. This means that our ship is securely stored and we can call it back at the station at any time. And with a little elevator ride to the lobby, we have also completed this chapter with your first takeoff, your first flight and your first landing. But what happens if something goes wrong and you don't make it? In Star Citizen, there is the possibility to respawn, and we can determine this spawn point ourselves. Therefore, we take a look at how you can change your own spawn point, for example, to this station on which we just landed. For this, we use the map function again. Via the small search bar, we can go through the different areas on this station, or we enter something directly into the search bar. In our case, we are looking for the clinic. Here you will find, of course, all areas that are accessible, and not only on residence planets, but also to space stations or later on larger ships. And to set a route, we select the point in the respective clinic areas again and press the R key, and we automatically find it everywhere. To finally change our spawn point, we need a console again. And no, this is not connected to any costs. Even a respawn is completely free. But as mentioned, it may be that you die, your equipment is lost and your ship is destroyed. But you will also get your ship back. Here you have only a little waiting time to fear. A respawn, on the other hand, is much faster. Via the regeneration console, we see where we are currently stored, so where we would respawn in the current case, and that we can transfer our imprint, so our character here. And with a click, we will respawn here on the station in the future, no matter where we die. And of course, you have to do something first to die, so let's take a look at the different missions and start with the Space Combat Mission career. To take on a mission, we again need our MobiGlass with the press of the F1 key and have our own app here under Contracts. In the upper area we can switch between verified, so legal missions, and unverified. And we definitely recommend verified in any case for the beginning, because for unverified missions you can get a crime stat, so become a criminal and end up in jail later. And yes, there is an in-game jail, where you also have to spend some real time or escape, but that's another topic. To start, we go to the mercenary area in any case, except the mission A Call to Arms. Here we have no mission goals, because this offers us, if we hit a criminal on our way or somewhere in the verse, we get an additional payment and he goes to jail. Mission is the Unauthorized Surveillance Detected mission for the first run. This offers a good payment and can be done with any beginner ship without any problems. It's the perfect start for space combat missions. And after we have this mission active, a mission marker is also displayed to us, where we have to go. So we just get our ship, our Aurora, out of the storage, go into our hangar, get on the ship and fly off. We already know that from the last chapter, how to start from a station again. But this time we choose the option to use everything via our radial menu, so to make our ship flight ready and to make a takeoff request. And since we are not starting in our home location this time, but in the station, the hangar door is not in front of us, but above us. And we simply give so much thrust with the spacebar until we have left the hangar area. Then we enter our landing gear with the N key and align ourselves up to our destination. Now we have to switch back to the nav master mode and the quantum mode for a jump with the hold of the B key, and then we can make a jump to our destination coordinates. But what if a destination is obstructed or we cannot jump directly? So press the F2 key here. Here we see not only our own position but also our mission location. And if we select the mission location here and click on a route, a suitable jump route is created for us. Because in this case the destination is behind the planet. We jump to a jump buoy and follow our destination. And for the mission, we first have to get closer and then use another function, namely the scanner of our ship. For this, we could go to a special scanner mode or simply press the tab key, because with this we trigger a scanner impulse, which in this case is sufficient. And if we see red targets here, you can mark them with T. Basically, two-digit name components, that is, with an empty mark, are NPCs, not players. Because players cannot insert empty marks into their character names, so we can see quite quickly whether it is a player or an NPC. For our mission, we have to find 3 different points that are directly nearby, so satellites. With a tab key, scanner hits are generated and displayed with yellow markers. We can switch on the defenseless satellites from nearby with the T key, and with a press of the left mouse button we fire our ship weapons, which we can see in the right hub area. Because the energy supply of our laser weapons is reduced with each fire salvo. But don't worry, laser weapons regenerate if we not fire. And similarly our shields and of course our booster regenerate if we don't use them. For the completion of the mission, we only have to switch off and destroy all 3 of these defenseless satellites. And with that we have made a profit of just under 16,000 Alpha UEC. Congratulations! But at this point we use the opportunity to clearly evaluate our ship and take some equipment with us. Because even if the mission is completed, we have mostly simple intruders in the immediate vicinity, such as these mining ships, which only have a rudimentary armament. We can mark them with the T key and also shoot them down with our ship's weapons. But they move, so you have to show a little more flying skills. But again the note, make sure that you are in the space combat mode to fire your weapons and get some shields. Press the B key long to switch between nav and SCM. In addition, we also receive a small reward for shooting down the enemy here via our Call to Arms mission. And above all, we can use the ship's weapons and the inventory for our own purposes. And with this, we can double our own ship's armament. Just make sure not to completely destroy your enemy, as in this case, because already with a shut down enemy, so with the first explosion and the lifting of the current target, the ship is in a so-called soft dead state mode. And the armament and the inventory is still available, just like the ship itself. And subsequently, we park nearby and leave our own ship. Yes, our first spacewalk, but don't forget your helmet. Here we want the 2 weapons of our enemy that are compatible for our own ship. And for this we need our multi-tool, which we can switch through with the 5 key, because our Paramount medical device is also on this tool slot with the 5 key. We use our multi-tool with the left mouse button and can then move objects that we capture. And with the mouse wheel we can push objects away or pull them towards us. And since the armament of the most enemy entry-level fighters is compatible with our entry-level ships, we can now directly equip our 2 free additional weapon slots with it and simply double our firepower for free. But we have to take a short break in our ship's pilot seat and activate ports unlocked via the radial menu. This means that our weapon mounts are now unlocked, so to speak. Now we just have to align the weapons appropriately. To do this, we hold the activated weapons with the pressed R key and move our mouse or the mouse wheel and can thus rotate and vary. We do this as long as the weapon fits into our weapon slot. If we then release our tractor beam, the weapon is automatically mounted. So to speak, a magnetic device. But of course, the pilot also has valuable equipment that we also get. Therefore, we enter the defenseless ship, where there is no more gravity, and also pull the pilot out of this seat with our multi-tool. Either we can directly loot objects here by interacting with F, or we just take the whole enemy with us and also take his equipment that he carries. For this, we bring the noble equipment owner, which by the way attacked us first and was a criminal, into our own ship. Here we can also use the loot menu to loot the individual items directly from the enemy to our ship. But beware, especially on narrow ships or smaller ships, the boxes can quickly cause some confusion and we should perhaps stack the boxes properly afterwards. Also with our multi-tool. In any case, you should not transport enemies such as these criminals with your ship, because the defense systems of the stations will see them as a danger and shoot them, even if they are in your own ship. But back on the ship, we again go to our radial menu with the left Alt and F key and lure our ports again. This also activates the two new ship weapons automatically connected to the energy system, and we have more firepower. But Star Citizen not only offers space combat but also complete ground combat. Here we find, for example, in the mercenary area, a security work assessment, that is, a ground mission in which we are supposed to clean a bunker. Here we find 10 enemies, which shooter players can also turn off without any problems with their entry-level pistol. Here we take course for a ground station on a moon that does not offer an atmosphere, so pay also attention to wearing a helmet. Depending on where you land, an atmosphere can be available and temperatures can be so hot and cold that you can only stay short in the open field. Here we will need our multi-tool later, because we switch between our weapons with the 1 and 2 keys and start with our entry-level pistol. With the right mouse button we can aim, and with the B button we can switch through different fire modes, depending on the weapon. Our pistol, for example, offers a very practical 2-shot mode, which is already sufficient for most opponents for headshots. And in addition to opponents, we find in bunkers or in facilities usually in addition lucrative loot boxes or other equipment items. This allows us to find rare or visually different items. And special equipment that does more damage than other equal equipment, on the other hand, does not exist in Star Citizen. So no epic weapon does 3 times much more damage as the same weapon it is not epic. Our mission goal is to eliminate a total of 10 opponents who are spread over the bunker system. And you should proceed slowly and carefully, since the opponents can react to you depending on the server capacity and proceed in a team. Basically, the first missions are not difficult, and with the kill of the last, better equipped opponent, you have completed the mission and get paid. And with that, a note: as soon as you have completed the mission, a timer starts to run for about 30 minutes. At this time you should have left the area in any case. If you're still on the side after the timer runs out, your ship will be shut down and destroyed by the station defense outside. And of course, these missions are intended to significantly improve your equipment, because we can switch from our simple, light initial armor to a much better, sometimes heavy armor and extensive equipment. For this you can simply loot the opponent and create the individual armor parts yourself. This means that you are now much stronger and better equipped for the next mission. And of course we can also selectively sell different items or store them in our own inventory. Therefore, we simply take this colleague with us and pack some of his equipment items on our ship in boxes and the boxes in our ship. What we do with it and how we can transfer it to our inventory, of course, we also go into detail soon. But what to do with injuries? Because we also got a little scratch here. For this we take a look at how you can use your Pyramid medical pistol or a med pen, so the analog medical syringe. You can equip a med pen with the C key and inject it into yourself with the left mouse button, or with the right mouse button into a teammate. And you can equip the Pyramid medical device with the 5 key and treat yourself with the B key. And for the last career branch, we go under the delivery boys. In our contract manager on the delivery, we found a missing delivery for Covalex and deliver it. The payment is also reasonable, although we also usually find and take additional loot here, as well as resell it. Basically, all different mission types have a reputation systems with it. That means if you do more missions, you get much better and improve. That means the missions get heavier, more extensive, but also much more lucrative, and the profits are considerable. For this package mission, we find a missing delivery box. Take it in our hand and bring it back to our ship. In the weightlessness of space, you can move similar to a ship. And to finally complete the mission, we have to hand over this box to a special place. You can either enter this place directly in your search in the star map with the F2 key, or you simply follow your markings in the HUD. This is also a station and we can use it as our first location. And we will show you how to transfer the items to your inventory after we have handed over the box. Because for this, we take our boxes with our tractor beam and transfer them directly to the cargo lift directly inside the hangar. This is your cargo lift, which means you put the boxes in and can then transfer these items directly to your inventory via the console. And this also works in later games with huge cargo containers and everything you can move around with. And also you can store personal equipment at the different terminals or equip it from there. Here you can simply move it back and forth, so drag and drop it. But this only works for items that you can carry in your hands or on your body. That means that you can only store items that are in your ship via your cargo lift and your tractor beam or multi-tool. And that we come to the last part of this guide. Because what you can do when your ship is damaged or you run out of fuel. So we take a look on how you can repair and refuel your ship, which may have received one or the other cut, and also refill rockets or other equipment. For this we need a space station, a main planet, or a station with a landing pad. Here we also request land, and then go via our MobiGlass, via the F1 key in our menu. Here we can find the landing services on the right, and can, for example, refuel, rearm, or repair. And after a short wait, our ship is then completely usable again. And with this last chapter, we come to the end of this XXL guide. And if you have questions, feel free to drop by our Discord or write in the comments. I'll say goodbye until next time, and of course, see you in the verse. Thanks for watching.